The chamber of the Galactic Council shimmered with soft blue lights and the quiet hum of machines that had seen centuries of peace. Delegates from 100 different species filled the great hall, their voices echoing in laughter, argument, and arrogance. In the center stood Admiral Reyes, the human representative from Earth. His uniform was plain compared to the shining robes and scaled armor around him. Still, his eyes carried something most of them did not have, a calm that came from surviving chaos. At the far end of the table, the council leader rose. He was tall, silver-skinned, and ancient, a creature who had lived long enough to see empires rise and fall. His voice cut through the noise like a blade. "Let us speak plainly, human. You claim your people are ready to stand equal among us, but your planet is young, violent, and emotional. Tell us, Admiral, how does Earth expect to stand against the unity of the stars?" The hall erupted in laughter. One alien with crimson scales hissed, "Perhaps they plan to throw stones again. Or maybe they will talk us to death with their emotions." Another flicked his claws and added, "They cannot even keep peace among themselves." Admiral Reyes did not flinch. His gaze moved slowly from one mocking face to another. Then, in a steady voice, he replied, "We do not seek your approval. We only seek our right to exist without your permission." The laughter stopped for a moment. Something about the way he said it unsettled them. He was not angry, not loud, not defensive, just certain. And that quiet certainty frightened the ones who had ruled for too long. The council leader's lips curved into a smirk. "You speak bravely for a species that still burns its forests for warmth. Do you truly believe you could stand against the council's will?" Reyes looked straight at him. "We do not believe. We prepare." The words hung in the air like a cold wind. Even the translation drones seemed to pause before repeating them. Some of the younger delegates whispered to each other. Humans were known for their unpredictability. They were emotional, yes, but they were also stubborn. When pushed, they built. When cornered, they fought. And when humiliated, they remembered. After the meeting, as the other delegates left laughing, Reyes walked alone through the silver corridors of the station. Through the glass walls, he could see Earth as a small dot in the dark. Weak in appearance, perhaps, but he knew the truth. Humans had always thrived in weakness. It was what made them dangerous. Across the galaxy, the image of that meeting spread. News channels replayed the moment where Reyes spoke his defiant words. Some called it brave, others called it foolish. The council, amused by his pride, decided to send observers to the solar frontier. Officially, they were diplomats. Unofficially, they were spies. The first scout ship, the Varath, entered human space quietly. It sent messages for 3 days, then vanished. The council waited. A week later, a second ship followed. It too disappeared, leaving behind only fragments of metal found near the orbit of Neptune. The council dismissed it as a cosmic accident. They refused to believe humans had the power to destroy anything of value. But reports began to grow stranger. Merchant ships whispered about enormous shadows drifting near Pluto, ships with no broadcast signals, their hulls black as night. Others spoke of strange energy bursts near the edge of the system, patterns too precise to be natural. In secret, human fleets had been building. The Earth Defense Initiative, once a small peacekeeping program, had grown in silence. Old enemies on Earth, nations that had once threatened each other, now worked side by side. Mars engineers designed weapons beyond council comprehension. Lunar factories built hulls thick enough to resist plasma fire. The people of Earth, once divided by flags, now united under a single phrase, "Never again." Admiral Reyes returned home to see it for himself. He walked through hangars filled with new machines, warships that gleamed with cold steel, designed not for beauty but for survival. Pilots trained in silence. Technicians worked day and night. He saw children drawing stars and writing the names of ships on their school walls. Hope had become their new religion. Reyes stood before the Soul's Wrath, the largest human battleship ever built. It stretched a mile in length, its surface bristling with energy cannons and railguns. Its heart beat with the power of a small sun. Yet to Reyes, the most beautiful thing about it was not the weaponry. It was the fact that it existed at all. Humanity had created it together, not out of greed but pride. That night, standing on the ship's observation deck, he received a message from the Council. It was short and arrogant. The Council warns Earth to cease military buildup. You are reminded that aggression against the Union will result in total annihilation. Reyes smiled faintly. The arrogance of the message only confirmed what he already knew. The Council still thought of humanity as weak. They still believed the laughter would never end. But deep in his heart, Reyes knew that day was coming. The day when the galaxy would finally see what humans could do when pushed too far. The day the mocking would stop. He turned toward the stars and whispered to himself, "Let them come. We are ready." Far away in the darkness beyond Pluto, engines began to awaken. Silent ships stirred under the frozen light, their systems warming, their cannons charging. Humanity was waiting not to start a war, but to end one before it began, and somewhere, in the quiet corridors of the Galactic Council, the faint echo of Admiral Reyes's voice still lingered in memory, cold, calm, and unforgettable. "We do not believe. We prepare," the galaxy had laughed. But soon it would remember why humans were never safe to underestimate. The first warning came as a whisper through the stars, a faint distress signal, weak and broken, drifting near the border of human space. It was from a Council scout ship, one of those sent to observe Earth's movements. The message lasted only 10 seconds before cutting to static. No one ever found the ship again. At the Council headquarters, they brushed it off as an equipment failure. Their pride made them blind. They believed no human weapon could reach that far. No human fleet could hide in deep space. They forgot how humans learned, not from comfort but from pain. Weeks later, another signal arrived. This one was stronger, filled with panic. The pilot screamed of black ships, massive and silent, emerging from the shadows near Neptune. "They are not answering hails," he cried. "They're weapons." The message ended there. Across the solar system, the human defense network quietly came to life. Satellites realigned. Long dormant stations activated. Codes were sent, short and sharp. Humanity moved like a single heartbeat. They did not boast. They did not threaten. They prepared. Admiral Reyes stood in the command center aboard Sol's Wrath, the flagship of the Earth fleet. The vast warship drifted in low orbit around Titan, its hull glimmering faintly under Saturn's pale rings. Around it, smaller ships, frigates, carriers, cruisers, waited in formation, silent and patient like predators in the dark. Reyes's officers waited for his command. A young lieutenant spoke carefully. "Sir, our deep space sensors confirm another Council fleet entering the system. Estimated strength, 800 warships. They are advancing without authorization." Reyes said nothing for a moment, his eyes fixed on the holographic projection of the fleet, a massive cluster of light symbols moving toward Earth's borders. His voice was calm when he finally spoke. They were warned. On the Council's side, arrogance ruled every decision. They called their mission Operation Restraint. Their goal was not to destroy Earth, only to remind humanity of its place. "A quick display of power," said the Council leader, "and they will bow as others have bowed." But the universe had never known a species like humans. They did not bow, they endured. When the alien fleet crossed into the Kuiper Belt, their sensors began to fail. Magnetic storms appeared where none had existed. Their communication links flickered. One by one, ships lost contact. Panic spread through their ranks. Then came the shadows. From the void beyond Pluto, the human ships emerged. Black, silent, invisible until the very last second. Each ship bore no insignia, no colors, only the cold gleam of purpose. The lead vessel transmitted a single message in every language known to the galaxy. "You were warned. Leave now or be erased," the alien commander laughed. He did not even respond. "Fire," he ordered. Hundreds of plasma bolts tore through space toward the human fleet. For a brief moment, it seemed the battle had begun, but before the bolts could hit, every alien weapon shut down at once. A pulse of energy from the humans' flagship had jammed their systems entirely. The Council ships floated helplessly, engines flickering. Then the humans struck back. Railgun fire lit the dark like lightning. Silent beams of energy cut through the alien ships with surgical precision. Explosions flared in silence, their light reflecting off the cold rings of Saturn. It was not chaos, it was orchestration. Every shot was planned, every move precise. On the bridge of Sol's Wrath, Admiral Reyes watched quietly. He gave no triumphant shout, no speech. "Disable their flagships," he said. "Let them see who we are." Within minutes, the alien fleet was crippled. Their commander, gasping through smoke, sent a desperate transmission. "Human forces, we surrender. We did not mean to provoke war." Reyes looked at the message without emotion. You were warned, he replied. The battle was over before most of the galaxy even knew it had begun. The Council's once invincible armada lay shattered, its survivors drifting back toward the central worlds with stories of terror. They spoke of ships that appeared out of nothing, of weapons that bent light, and of humans who fought without hate, only purpose. In the days that followed, the Council met again. The great hall that had once echoed with laughter was now silent. The Council leader stood before the gathered species, his voice trembling. We underestimated them. The humans. They fight like no other. They do not conquer. Yet they cannot be conquered. Some demanded retaliation, but none dared send another fleet. Even the most powerful empires hesitated. For the first time, the galaxy feared the small blue world they had mocked for centuries. Back on Titan, Admiral Reyes watched the stars from his quarters. The silence after battle always felt heavier than the noise. He thought of the message Earth had sent before the war began. Simple, clear, and final. Stay away. Now they would. Humanity had proven its strength not through domination, but through survival. The universe would never forget the day the Council ignored the warning, because from that day forward, every star system whispered the same truth in fear. Do not test Earth. The Council had called the humans reckless. Now they called them unstoppable. 3 days after the failed invasion, wreckage from hundreds of alien ships drifted across the cold black of space. The remains of proud war banners, now torn and burnt, floated beside shattered hulls. The Council fleet had entered human territory as conquerors and left as debris. Yet Admiral Reyes did not smile. He stood on the bridge of the Soul's Wrath, his face dimly lit by the red light of battle readouts. Status? He asked quietly. Enemy fleet destroyed, his officer replied. 50 survivors requesting aid. Reyes stared at the transmission logs. 50 out of 800. He gave a slow nod. Recover them. No executions. Let them see what we spared. Outside the viewport, the space around Titan shimmered with the ghostly light of burning ships. Human rescue drones moved through the field, collecting survivors with mechanical precision. The aliens expected torture. Instead, they were given air, warmth, and food. The humans did not speak to them. They simply showed what discipline looked like. On the other side of the galaxy, panic spread like a virus. The Council tried to hide the truth, but the recordings escaped. Alien pilots trembling, described ships that appeared from nowhere, fired weapons that pierced shields like paper, and vanished again before scanners could track them. One pilot's final words spread through every network. They do not fight for conquest. They fight because you force them to remember who they are. The Council called an emergency session. The great chamber was no longer filled with laughter, but with fear. The leader, who once mocked Admiral Reyes, slammed his hands on the table. This cannot be. How did they build such power in secret? An elder delegate from a distant species answered softly. You mocked them for being emotional. You never realized that emotion is what drives creation. Humans turn pain into invention. Silence followed. The truth was undeniable. Meanwhile, humanity did not rest. Across Mars, Luna, and the orbital cities, engineers and soldiers worked together like one organism. New ships were forged, not for invasion, but to secure every inch of the solar frontier. The sky above Earth shimmered with defense grids, and fleets patrolled the black edges of the system like silent sentinels. But not all of humanity agreed on mercy. In the war councils of Mars, younger commanders demanded retaliation. They wanted a war, one said. Let us finish it. Reyes listened and then answered in his usual calm voice. No, the lesson is already written. We strike again and we become them. Let them come to us. Let them remember who stopped them. For weeks, alien diplomats begged for peace talks. The Council, fractured and terrified, sent emissaries under white banners. Yet they approached Earth carefully, as if stepping into a lion's den. Their fleets no longer traveled armed. Their ambassadors no longer spoke in arrogance. One delegation requested a private audience with Admiral Reyes himself. They met aboard the Soul's Wrath, surrounded by the quiet hum of human machinery. The alien leader bowed low, a gesture that once would have been unthinkable. We came to offer peace. We misjudged your people. Reyes studied him for a long moment before replying. You judged us correctly. You saw our violence, our flaws, our chaos, but you forgot the part that saves us. Our unity when threatened. The alien leader looked confused. Then why spare us? You could have destroyed us all. Because destruction is easy, Reyes said softly. Teaching fear is easier. Teaching respect takes strength. The council envoy nodded slowly. His eyes carried shame. The galaxy will never see Earth the same again. Good, Reyes replied. It should not. Outside the ship, Earth hung in the distance, blue and bright against the void. The humans who once looked up to the stars with wonder now stood as their guardians. They did not rule. They simply existed, and that was enough to make the galaxy tremble. Far away, on a planet deep within council space, children whispered stories about the war. They spoke of the humans, creatures who came from a world of storms and oceans, who could fight like gods but show mercy like saints. Some called them monsters. Others called them saviors. But every being who had seen what happened that day remembered one thing clearly. When Earth rose, the stars themselves seemed to grow quiet. Later, in a private transmission to his command, Admiral Reyes sent one final message. Let the galaxy rebuild its pride. We have no need for theirs. We will not start wars, but we will finish them if they come. Let them test us again, if they dare. As the Soul's wrath drifted back toward Earth, its engines glowing softly against the void, the Admiral closed his eyes. Humanity had shown its wrath once, and that was enough. But deep inside every ship, behind every human heartbeat, a promise remained. If the Council ever forgot the lesson again, the stars would burn twice as bright and twice as deadly. In the days that followed the battle, space grew quiet. The smoke of shattered fleets drifted like gray ghosts through the emptiness. Where once hundreds of alien ships had filled the void with arrogance and noise, now only silence remained. The silence was not peaceful. It was heavy, filled with fear, memory, and awe. The galaxy had changed overnight. News spread faster than light. Every world, every empire, every listening station across the spiral arm whispered the same story. The humans had done it. The Council's proudest armada had been destroyed in less than a day. Not by overwhelming numbers, not by ancient technology, but by precision, by discipline, and by a force no alien could truly understand: the human will to survive. On Earth, there were no celebrations. The streets of New London and New Tokyo were quiet. Flags hung still in the morning wind. Humanity had won, but the cost of victory was not measured in lives. It was measured in the understanding of what they had become. The same species that once feared the dark of space had now made the stars themselves afraid. Admiral Reyes stood in the Hall of Memory, a glass structure overlooking the Atlantic horizon. Behind him stood leaders, scientists, and soldiers, each wearing the same expression, relief mixed with disbelief. The ocean below shimmered with dawn light, calm and endless. A journalist asked softly, "Admiral, the galaxy now calls you the Hand of Earth. What message do you wish to send them?" Reyes turned to the vast ocean and spoke without turning his head. "Tell them humanity does not seek war, but if war comes to us, it will not leave alive." Those words became the closing line of every broadcast. Across alien worlds, children heard them and shivered. Some refused to believe. Others could not sleep. In the council chambers, the mood was darker still. The same hall that once rang with laughter now stood nearly empty. Several member species had withdrawn, terrified to be associated with the disaster. The council leader, once proud and confident, sat in silence, staring at a hologram of Earth's blue surface. He whispered, "They could have destroyed us all. Why didn't they?" An old scholar beside him replied, "Because they are human. Mercy is their weapon now." No one laughed at Earth again. Meanwhile, deep within the solar frontier, humanity prepared for what came next. The Soul's wrath returned to orbit above Mars, followed by the surviving ships of the Earth Defense Fleet. Their hulls bore scars, but their engines burned strong. Crews moved in silence, repairing what was broken, preparing for what might return. In every training dome and academy, cadets studied the war, not as a tale of glory, but as a lesson. They learned about restraint, about precision, about what it meant to hold power and not lose humanity along with it. Still, some among them carried unease. What if they come again? A young pilot asked during a briefing. Reyes, older now and tired from the weight of victory, looked at him calmly. "Then we remind them again. The galaxy has a short memory. Outside, the stars shone brighter than ever. The universe was vast, yet smaller now that fear had reached its edges. Trade ships that once mocked Earth now lowered their flags in respect as they passed through human space. On border outposts, alien captains saluted human patrols with trembling hands. The name Earth had become a warning, but not all fear lasts forever. Years passed. The Council rebuilt. Broken fleets were reforged, though smaller, more cautious. The younger races grew curious again. What made humanity so strong? What burned inside them that others lacked? And quietly, they began to seek answers not through war, but through understanding. One day, an alien envoy arrived at Earth's orbit, broadcasting a message of peace. It was the same species that had once mocked humanity first, the crimson-scaled ones. Their ambassador spoke with trembling honesty. "We once laughed at your world. Now we come to learn from it." For a long moment, no one answered. The silence stretched, heavy and uncertain. Then Admiral Reyes's voice came through the channel. It was softer now, aged by time but still sharp as steel. "You are welcome," he said. "But remember, respect is not given. It is earned." When the envoy landed, they were not greeted by soldiers but by students and engineers. They saw cities where children studied the stars not to conquer them, but to understand them. They saw monuments built not for war but for unity. And they began to see what the Council had missed all along. Humanity's strength was never just in its weapons. It was in its heart, centuries later. Historians across the galaxy would mark that moment, the day the Council felt Earth's wrath, as the beginning of the Silent Age, a time when no empire dared declare war. Peace did not come from treaties or fear of destruction. It came from the quiet truth that echoed across space. Do not test Earth. Do not doubt humanity. Respect them, or remember them. And in the quiet of the Sol system, beneath the stars that once watched the flames of war, Admiral Reyes sat in his private quarters aboard Sol's Wrath. His reflection shimmered against the glass as Earth turned slowly below. He thought of the Council's laughter, the arrogance, the fire, and the silence that followed. He knew the galaxy would move on, but the story of humanity's stand would remain, a reminder carved into the very light of the stars. As he closed his eyes for the last time, he whispered what had become humanity's eternal creed. We do not believe. We prepare. The universe heard it, and for generations it never forgot.